Welcome to the Stairway to Heaven. We're coming to you on X-Zone TV and Simul TV from our broadcast studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, with the latest updates on the increasing frequencies impacting us all. Stairway to Heaven is the source of vital information for the evolving human being. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. This is not sustainable. We've built our structures around the short term rather than the long haul. What do I mean by that? Short term, that large house in the mountains, casino in the desert city, city below sea level, or cottage on the coast might seem like a great idea, but long term, forest fires will burn, rivers will run dry, levees fail, and seas rise. Once we left the hunter-gatherer nomadic way of life, we seem to have forgotten things do change. We understand seasons shift every year and make provisions for them. But those provisions involve manipulating our environment so we can stay exactly as we are, shore up against the change rather than rolling with it. Ironically, those very provisions allowing us to live at 73.5 degrees Fahrenheit year-round and eat foods out of season put increasing stress on our environment and the world at large. This approach has worked for a while, long enough to give us a false sense of security, but ultimately, nothing is consistent but change. A change driven partly by the very manipulations designed to preserve the status quo. Animals, on the other hand, adapt rather than try to control nature. They move with the changing seasons and even with the variances from year to year. Migrations change according to the energies at hand and shift with the times. My grandfather, an old rancher, used to accurately predict the harshness of the upcoming winter by the coats of the livestock and the movement of the birds. The hummingbirds have left early. We're likely to have an early freeze. Or, paint is putting on one hell of a coat. It's going to be a harsh winter. Let's stack the hay closer to the inner pasture. He was rarely wrong. Now, in addition to global warming attributed to greenhouse gases and the overload of massive pollution, one age is shifting to another. Due to this transition of ages, we're confronted with cyclic changes not seen in our lifetime. Each age carries a different set of frequencies based on the sun's relative positioning in the cosmos. As astrological age is determined by the motion of the Earth created by its wobble, known as the precession of equinoxes. This precession causes the identity of the pole star to change over time. It also results in the Earth's encountering different stellar influences as her pole shifts from one point to another. These shifts are represented by the constellation she's aligned with at any given time. The full cycle of precession lasts 25,800 years. There are 12 constellations in the zodiac, thus each age is approximately 2,150 years in length. Each constellation marks a divergent set of frequencies as our relative positioning in the galaxy changes. Everything expresses according to frequency. As ages change and frequencies shift, regardless of whether up or down, reality changes with it. It's been 2,150 years since the last shift in ages. Understandably, we've lost sight of the overlording cycles. Nonetheless, the change is here, and we're being caught with our pants down. In times past, galactic changes were charted and expected. Astrologers have long studied heavenly bodies with their cyclic shifting and the resulting impact on humankind. The Mayan calendar is a mapping of overlording ages resulting in the frequency changes and their impact on the Earth and all living here. There's this New Age misconception that the age will change all at once and enlightenment will strike with the dawning of the Aquarian Age. We don't go from night to day in one fell swoop. Before dawn, the light slowly begins and grows brighter and continues to shift as the sun moves through the sky. While sunrise is obvious, it's impossible to gauge exactly when dawn is. Just so, the Aquarian Age is slowly influencing us rather than hitting us all at once. Thus, adapting to the new frequency is a process rather than a sudden switch. Structures that once seemed to be built upon bedrock are slowly transitioning until parts of them are on unstable sands. At the same time, there are parts still anchored in solid rock. To abandon the structures altogether would leave us without a foundation or lacking in an operating system. Eventually, the castles will fall to dust, the coastline be covered by the ocean, and the river run dry. But in the meantime, we still need a place to live. What's being called for is discernment and flexibility. We need to discern what's stable and what needs to fall away. Use what's at hand that can be relied upon, while not clinging to it beyond its shelf life. It's human nature to want something to hang our hats on, something that never changes. Unfortunately, by the very nature of the cosmos, this is not sustainable. While safely ensconced in one age, we've built the illusion of stability. But seasons change, and that change is upon us. We've pushed against the river as long as we can get away with it, and now the current is sweeping away all that we have clung to. If we continue to cling to the disintegrating old structures, we'll be swept away with them. So how do we navigate these transitional times? We need to uncover and release all the things that are no longer being supported by the new frequencies before they're forcibly ripped away. Things can come and go with much less trauma if we're not attached to them. It's always a good rule of thumb to start within and work outwards. One of the first steps is uncovering and releasing what we have identified with: our race, our gender, or lack thereof, social status, wealth, cars, appearance, professions, education. All of these are false identities which anchor us to a reality that's disintegrating to make way for the new. Becoming introspective and listing all the things with which we are identified is a great starting point. This can be done by asking yourself, "Who am I?" and listing all that comes to mind. It can be very edifying to uncover the false identities. These are the very things that stand between us, our self-worth, authenticity, and personal power. We've come to see copious luxuries as bare necessities and strive to maintain a lifestyle that's not serving us and is destroying the planet. For several generations, we've been fed a steady diet of propaganda telling us what we want, need, and must have to be happy or have value. If the thought of going without the latest fashion, electronic toy, or new car is a deal breaker, what are we going to do if the food and water runs out? We've spoiled ourselves and our children into an alarming lack of resilience. And if ever resilience were needed, it's now. Time for another list. Write down what you view as bare necessities. Compare that list to where you spend money every month. Then compare your necessity list with your false identity list. See any correlations? There's something every good wilderness survival instructor teaches. When lost in the wilderness, you can go up over 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, and in inclement weather, 3 hours without shelter. Refer your list back to those figures and consider the wisdom of where your priorities lie. This is not to say you must throw it all away and go into survival mode, nor do you need to sit on a case of beans and toilet paper with an assault rifle. But by reevaluating what's necessary and important, you can release attachment to what is not. This puts you well ahead of the game and less available to the current system's manipulation and exploitation. The next thing to look at is what's holding solid and what's starting to malfunction in our lives. With the understanding that which is held in suspension at one frequency becomes fallout at another, keeping track of what's no longer working is a huge part of safe passage. Whether beliefs, habits, relationships, jobs, or locations, things are rapidly shifting. What used to be supportive may now become detrimental. Much like cell division, this is the time of the great sorting. During cell division, chromosomes formerly attached at the hip suddenly split from each other and go to opposite sides of the cell. Soon, the cell divides down the middle, taking 1/2 of the chromosomes with each of the new cells. This is the foundation of life. Should some of the chromosomes not divide, the new cells become malfunctional and diseased. The process we are undergoing is very like cell division. What belonged together at the old frequency must divide at the new one for healthy transition. Being vigilant and accurately recognizing when the people or things in your life no longer serve or no longer is a fit is paramount in navigating the transition. During the old reality, many have learned to manipulate and exploit others to feed them rather than make the effort to provide for themselves. These individuals and structures are parasitical in the extreme. Have you heard the term dead lice? It describes the phenomenon of when a host dies, all the lice abandon ship in droves. It's quite the thing to watch. Just like lice, parasitical individuals will use you as a host regardless of the cost to you. Once you're down, they'll evacuate and find another host, never looking back. In some cases, relationships can be renegotiated to better fit the new reality. However, if you find yourself spending more time trying to make a relationship work with someone that refuses to change than you spend on your own evolution, you're left with a difficult choice. Stay in the relationship and become part of a diseased cell, or discern proximity and move on to embrace your own potential. Note to the wise, before removing anyone or anything from your life, research how it or they have served you. Often, we may remove a person only to be faced with our heretofore unseen part in the dysfunction. Once our nemesis is gone, who do we blame? There's no substitute for self-awareness and taking personal responsibility. That's not to say one should stay in a low-frequency situation or relationship, but rather letting go will require personal work and processing, followed by gratitude for what was before truly moving on. The new frequency is shining light on parasites of the world, be they individuals or systems. It's becoming more and more difficult for them to remain hidden from others or even from themselves. This creates desperation, and they're pulling out all the stops. Within this desperation, their maneuverings are becoming more blatant. They are also destabilizing. The energy that has supported them is increasingly unavailable. Don't be surprised as people and structures start to blow up all around you. However, you can prepare yourself and minimize the damage by doing your own work ahead of time. By addressing our false identities, attachments, and dysfunctional relationships, we can trim the fat, so to speak. This leaves us lighter on our feet and less likely to be devastated when things shift. If we don't do our personal work, we'll find ourselves residing in castles of sand when the tide comes in. Realities are indeed shifting, but how we experience those shifts is totally dependent upon our focus and beliefs. The new frequency supports unity, enlightenment, and truth. Increasingly, it's shedding light on polarization, dogma, and lies. But we must pull our heads out of the sands of denial to see it. Otherwise, we blindly sink with the old reality, never seeing the amazing opportunities being made available by the transition. As frequency changes and reality shift, we need not be victims of the collapsing past, but powerful co-creators of the emerging future. It's, after all, simply a matter of perspective. Thank you for joining me, Gwilda Wiyaka, on the Stairway to Heaven, where we provide updates on the energetic currents facilitating our evolution into conscious, powerful co-creators. As I'm sure you've noticed, not only do the Stairway to Heaven episodes stand alone, but they weave together to form a map to evolution and personal empowerment as we enter the new era. To revisit this or any of our past episodes, visit our archives at www.stairwaytoheavenmedia.com. If you'd like to find out more about me, my school, and the evolutionary tools we offer, visit www.findyourpathhome.com. Until next time, may you be blessed on your sacred path to wholeness. We are here. The time is now.